Respected Rashtrapati Ji, respected Up Rashtrapati Ji, Shri Rahul Gandhi Ji, Shri Anand Sharma Ji, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be present at the launch of the centenary commemorative volume on India's illustrious Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi. I had the privilege to work with her in various capacities which informed me and made me aware of her views, development priorities, and her deep and abiding commitment to the well-being of the poor and the underprivileged sections of our society. She was born in a family of freedom fighters. As a child, she closely witnessed the freedom struggle transformed into the biggest mass movement in the annals of human history. She was an active participant who, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and her illustrious father Jawaharlal Nehru's courage and determination, was passionate about India's freedom and the right of Indian people to live with dignity. Indira Ji worked closely with Jawaharlal Nehru and also shared a privileged relationship with Mahatma Gandhi. She observed the defining phase of the freedom movement, the aftermath of partition, the bloodshed and forced migration of tens of millions of people in the wake of partition, and the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Indira Ji was a close observer of Nehru's vision of India as the foundations were laid for building India into a modern state and secular democracy. Indira Ji took charge as Prime Minister at a time when India was economically most vulnerable. 2 wars in 3 years, China 1962 and Pakistan 1965, had considerably affected our economy. The challenge was aggravated by 2 successive monsoon failures in 1965 and 1966. India was then critically dependent on America for food aid. She took upon herself the challenge to make India self-reliant in food with grit and determination, surprising and silencing her opponents who had questioned her ability to face challenges that appeared insurmountable. Indira Ji was quick to realize that for India to maintain a sovereign and independent policy in our external relations, it cannot remain weak and dependent on rich countries for food and economic aid. She vigorously pushed the Green Revolution. Indira Ji made us self-reliant and secured the right to determine our path of autonomous growth and economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, it is equally important to recall that independent India inherited an economy which was ravaged by centuries of colonial rule and neglect. A large majority of our people were pushed into abject poverty and denied access to adequate amount of food, health care, and education. Rebuilding this economy and lifting tens of millions out of poverty was a daunting challenge. Indira Ji accepted this challenge. She had compassion for the poor and the marginalized, the tribals and the scheduled castes. Indira ji gave a clarion call, Garibi Hatao, and announced a radical economic and social development program to implement it. She pursued Nehruji's economic objectives with vigor and strengthened the public sector. Indira ji was probably one of the earliest leaders of the world who realized the need to create awareness all round to the protection of the environment. In her famous speech at Stockholm, in the first summit on environment, she had said that poverty was the greatest polluter, and therefore development and protection of the environment have to go hand in hand. The 1971 Bangladesh crisis, an influx of some 10 million of refugees from Bangladesh into our country, presented a formidable challenge. The way Indira ji handled this crisis got universal acclaim and admiration. Her contribution to the liberation of Bangladesh and standing up in solidarity with the suffering millions of people can never be forgotten. She is remembered with love and affection by the people of Bangladesh. Indira ji was conscious that India must expand its scientific and technological capacities to ensure that it remained globally competitive. She pushed forward the nuclear and space programs launched by Jawaharlal Nehru. Pokhran nuclear test of 1975 and 1975 launch of Aryabhat were a testimony to India's growing capacity in the field of science and technology. Indira ji was India's Prime Minister, but also an acknowledged leader of the developing countries. She effectively led the non-aligned movement during a critical period of history when the Cold War had sharply divided the world. She believed in world peace, and her voice was heard with respect in international fora. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that this book, India's Indira, with the rich narrative and archival material, will benefit the readers and inform them of her worldview and the legacy that she had left behind of an India committed to sustainable development and inclusive growth. A nation strong, united, and secular. History will remember with respect Indira ji's sacrifice and everlasting contribution. Thank you.